The attention to detail matters. So if it's not broken, don't break it. And no, I'm not talking about Jacoby Lane. Coach Riley talked about all the little things that will make a difference in 2025. I'm going to tell you what he said on this episode of Locked On USC.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you. Thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network your first listen every single day. Whether you are watching this show on YouTube, wherever you want to download this podcast, it's always going to be free. I'm always going to appreciate your support. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is right around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. You've heard it before 114 times. The Trojans held leads in each of their 4 road losses, as well as the game at home against Penn State that they eventually lost in overtime. In fact, kind of rub a little bit more salt in the wound, those losses on the road, USC gave up their lead with 1 minute or less to play in the actual game. It was a really hard season to watch. To put it bluntly, when you're losing games like that, that falls on the coaching, falls on game management. Now, that does not excuse the costly turnovers or the poor execution on the field. However, the job of the coach is to put the team in the best position to win. It's about paying attention to details. And that's what we're going to talk about in this first segment. We talked to Coach Riley via Zoom on Thursday. It's part of the routine. It's our mock game week, so to speak, as well, where we talk to Coach Riley via Zoom. He answers the media's questions. He also let us know that Jacoby Lane had a broken foot. We'll talk about that in the next segment. And I also have my Friday rant coming up. So stick around. We've got a really big show for you here. Anyways, as I mentioned, the job of the coach is to put his team in the best position to win. It's about details. It's the little things. So we started our weekly Zoom call, Coach Riley, and he said this, talking about details. Quote, "Are we working on end-of-game situations and emphasizing that, talking about that? Of course we are. But the reality is every part of this program needs to be a little bit better to take the steps of where we want to be. And I think that has been a huge emphasis point so far." End quote. So just like you, you're ready to start the season. Just like me, ready to start the season. So is Coach Riley. So is the team. In fact, I think the sooner Coach Riley and the Trojans can show everyone that they know how to close out games, the sooner he's going to stop getting that question asked of him about closing out games. It comes up just about every single opportunity the media or anybody gets a chance to talk to Coach Riley. Nonetheless, he still took the time to kind of break it down, what it means about paying attention to the details. So he said, quote, "I think the attention to detail, the discipline and accountability in the program, and really talking about the job that Coach Truman Carroll, and his staff have done they've been tremendous. Those have probably been some of the biggest changes in the program from last year to this year, philosophically, in terms of what approach. And we've changed a lot of the ways in which we operate with regards to not only the strength and conditioning, but it just kind of bleeds into everything other part of the program as well. And so I think the attention to detail, the discipline, combined with we need every single part of the program, coaches, defense, offense, special teams, like every part of it to be a little bit better. Those have been the 2 things that we really hang our hat on," end quote. One of these days, I'm hoping that Coach Riley pays attention to detail. Run-on sentences are really hard to quote. I should make that one of my rants one day. I think I will. But what Coach was trying to emphasize here is every part of the program, they're paying attention to the details, all the little things. Doesn't matter what aspect of it, everything is right down to the smallest little detail. Dot the I's, cross the T's. They're being emphasized during the offseason. Here's one detail, though, that I think needs to be re-examined. It's just my opinion. But I actually opened up the Zoom conference call. I had two questions. The first one was about Jayden Maiava's leadership. We talked about that on yesterday's episode of Locked On USC. So if you missed it, you're bad. You can check it out when you're done watching this episode. But that's why you want to have your bell notification clicked on YouTube so you don't miss an episode. Anyways, I was curious with Coach Riley. I asked him, I said, was there a seminal moment leading up during the offseason, or was it just more of a gradual lead up to Jayden's leadership of the team? And I'll just give you the Cliff Notes version. You can watch his full answer on YouTube. The video's up there. But he said last year, Jayden was probably kind of just a little overwhelmed with everything. It kind of came at him. And so during the off season, Coach Riley, Coach Heward, they had a lot of conversations with Jayden Maiava. They said the talks focused on the leadership aspect of things, to take ownership of the group. Don't just be that wallflower standing in the background looking for the right time. Take ownership. Do it. And a lot of it has to do with just allowing his personality to come out, being more vocal, just coming out of his shell is what Coach Riley was talking about. Look, I've told you before, Coach Riley, he wants his quarterback to be the team leader. It's just part of the program. Especially, the quarterback has to be on the same page, almost has to be able to read Coach Riley's mind so they understand the offense. But if you're going to be the team leader, the de facto team leader because you're the quarterback, well, that usually means you should also be a team captain as well, right? And that was a perfect segue for me to ask Coach the next question. Last season, USC went away from the traditional team captain selection process, and they elected to go with a different set of 5 team captains on a week-to-week basis. Well, that's the plan again in 2025. That's where I I go a little bit different direction with the detail part of it. For me, I think a detail that's being overlooked is having a permanent team captain on each side of the ball. So, Coach Riley answered it this way. He said, we were happy with how that played out, with the selecting the team captains in 2024. We had some guys that were captains a lot, but it's going to be on a kind of what have you done for the team lately, kind of done in that manner this season. He said there was positive feedback about the way the captains were selected from both coaches and players, and wants to see the captaincy earned just like the position battles are earned on a week-to-week basis. So my question is, how do you sell the theory of the quarterback is the team's leader if he's not going to be selected as a team captain every week that he's starting? It just there's a gap in the communication there somehow, at least in the thought process for me. So if I were the head coach, I would change that one detail. I would have one permanent captain on offense, one permanent captain on defense, and then by all means, pick your other 4 captains on a weekly basis. I like that. I really like that part of the process. But I do believe that there should be at least one permanent guy, one constant that the rest of the guys on the team can look to when they're on the field, whether it's an offense guy, defense, or even when they're on the sideline. There should always be that one guy. And that doesn't mean that guys won't approach Jayden or, let's say, a Kamari Ramsey if they're not team captain that week. But I'm just trying to, bigger picture. So, yeah, I would have Jayden Maiava as your offensive team captain, period. Every week. He's the guy. He's your starting quarterback. I would have Kamari Ramsey or Eric Gentry be the two candidates for the defense's permanent head captaincy. I'm a little lost for words right now. It's got a little late, so I apologize. So those were just a few of the things, a couple of things that Coach Riley spoke about on that weekly Zoom call we'll do every Thursday. We are into the season now. This is mock game week. Next week, game week. Today, we are 8 days away. Beat the Bears. All right, I said a couple more segments to go. We're going to talk about Jacoby Lane's broken foot. He had a broken foot. Everyone take a deep breath. Wipe that sweat off your brow. And then, as always, we wrap up the week with my Friday rant. And yeah, I was right again. You were all wrong, and I'm going to let you know about it. Excuse me. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your future MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, maybe you're ready to crown the Super Bowl champ today before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. I'm going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown for MVP in 2025. How's that? Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Okay? Start planning your future bets today because Future Days is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. That, and let's get into this next segment. So, what if I told you Jacoby Lane had a broken foot? I need you all to focus on the word had. He's 100% now, right? Big, okay. Woo! We don't want to think about Jacoby Lane with a broken foot. Well, anyways, we have to because Coach Riley let us know during that Zoom call that he is back to full health after dealing with a broken foot this offseason. Coach told us that he suffered that injury back in May, and he's actually been full go for the last 4 or 5 days. Remember, when we see him during practice, sometimes we haven't seen him doing a lot of work. He hasn't been even doing the running through those air route drills with the quarterbacks. None of that. So we were trying to figure out, what's the deal? How did he get hurt? When did he get hurt? Turns out it happened in May. Spring camp was already over. Player run practices hadn't started yet. So now I'm thinking, did he hurt it? How did it happen? I have no idea. I don't think it matters, but he's healthy. That's all that matters. But it does make you wonder what happened. Coach also said, he's been full go here for, the last week, getting him back in shape and kind of getting him back in the fold after missing some time. You can see some of the rust starting to get knocked off now. Those first 2 games of the year are going to be really important for Jacoby to continue to get that rust knocked off. I mean, could you imagine? I can only imagine Trojan fans, how they would have been white-knuckling it. I mean, the consternation, had anyone known about this? Imagine had I told you one day, in April, in May, June, July, hey, do you know Jacoby Lane had a broken foot? Trojan fans would have been apoplectic, excuse me. Yeah, they would have gone, oof. I mean, forget being mad. Forget the anger aspect of it. I mean, I can only envision all the Chicken Littles. They would all have been crying, oh my God, the sky is falling. What are we going to do? I can't believe we let Zachariah Branch and Deuce Robinson leave. Oh no. Let me remind everybody, okay? Deep breath. Jacoby Lane led USC last year with 12 touchdown receptions. He only had 43 total receptions. I like that ratio. I mean, that's a really good number. It's literally almost every 4 times he touches the ball, touchdown. It's actually less than that. And in his last game against Texas A&M, he had 7 catches, 127 yards, 3 touchdowns. That gave him a total of 7 touchdowns and 11 catches over those final 3 games of the year. Those are outstanding numbers. I think it's conceivable against USC's first 2 opponents, Missouri State, Georgia Southern, Jacoby can match those 7 touchdown numbers. I mean, easily. You should definitely have at least 11 receptions. I mean, in 2 games, talking 5 one game, 6 another, 4 in one, 7 another. You want to keep it as balanced as possible. I'd hate to see him go 3 in one game and 8 in the next. I mean, stuff happens, whatever the defense is allowing you to take. But yeah, there's no reason he can't have 11 catches and 7 touchdowns and, 200 plus yards after those first 2 games. And that'll propel him to having a fantastic season, and why he should have been on a whole bunch of those preseason watch lists. Look, I've been pretty bullish on USC for this upcoming season, despite what we saw last year. Okay. And a lot of that had to do with, there was some uncertainty at the quarterback spot, at least with his decision making, as well as, some play calling. But how would your opinion have changed had Jacoby Lane not been 100% ready to go this season? Right? Jayden Maiava is your quarterback. Coach Riley, you think, all right, he's not going to have 2 bad years in a row on offense. But how would your thinking have changed if Jacoby wasn't ready to go? I mean, that would have been a concern for me. Guarantee it. So now he's 100%. Well, this is what we're told, and I have no reason to doubt that. But, breaking a bone in your foot, it's a delicate matter. Now you're concerned, well, what happens if he gets stepped on? And that happens all the time during the game. Guys get stepped on. What's going to happen that every time he gets tackled, he comes up a little gimpy? Is everyone going to be holding their breath? I mean, I got to admit, when Coach Riley gave us the news, I got a little bug eye. I was like, oh, really? Broken foot? Wasn't expecting that on my bingo card. I was thinking, maybe he had a shoulder issue. I know last year I saw him wearing an elbow brace. Maybe he pulled a groin early during fall camp. Maybe that was what it was all about. No idea it was a broken foot. And I don't think anybody did. That's why Coach keeps the injury report close to his vest. Doesn't want anybody to know. And I'm kind of surprised he told us about this injury. So the fact that Jacoby is 100% ready to go, that's a positive. It's a major positive. Now we'll see how ready he is when USC kicks off their season in 8 more days against the Missouri State Bears. Then they're going to take on the Georgia Southern Eagles. Clay Helton comes back to town. USC should win both of these games with ease. And this is a little bit of a segue into our next segment. All right. You know me. I've talked about it. I'm a huge proponent of strong out-of-conference games, as well as USC and Notre Dame playing every single year. Well, all of you out there who have been fighting me tooth and nail, saying that USC should not be playing Notre Dame because ... Guess what? I was right. You were wrong. And I'm going to tell you why in the next segment. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra, Cialis. You maybe even tried one or both of them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is the next generation prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost your blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and it kicks in really fast, like on average in 15 minutes or less. And the effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked for you, Rugiet might be the answer, with over 150,000 men having already made the switch. And you will love that it's completely online. Rugiet connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly right to your front door. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege to get 15% off your order today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege and use the promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not approved and are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety disclosure and information. This is just my opinion. I might not always be right. However, I am never wrong. Get it? Or it's just my opinion. Everyone's entitled to opinion. Mine are usually right, though. But I'll tell you what, some of y'all, you need to stop questioning why USC shouldn't be playing Notre Dame every single year. Because, as I've been telling everyone, a lot, and spending a lot of time about this during the offseason, one aspect, I think, one of the reasons why USC and Notre Dame need to play every year is because strength of schedule is going to start playing a more significant role with the playoff seedings, especially when they go to the 16-team format, which they intend to do next season in 2026. Again, it's why I've been such a strong proponent of the USC Notre Dame rivalry maintaining every single year. And I say that despite USC playing 9 conference games. I mean, it's not like USC hasn't been playing 9 conference games since what? 2006? That's when the NCAA approved the 12-game, the regular season, 12 games. So USC's been doing it since then. By the way, I want to remind everybody, this was USC's out-of-conference schedule in 2006. Okay? They played at Arkansas. Remember, they won that game 50-14. Then they played at Notre Dame. Yeah, at Notre Dame and at Arkansas in the same season. They beat the Irish 31-28. And then in November, late November, can you believe it? They took on Fresno State. They beat the Bulldogs 35-21. That out-of-conference schedule, as well as their regular conference schedule, got them ready to kick the snot out of Michigan 32-18 in the Rose Bowl. So why am I bringing this up? Because some of you, and I love my everyday listeners, my everyday viewers, even when we disagree, but some of you are trying to downplay Notre Dame's schedule. And I just can't have it. Look, I'm not a Notre Dame fan by any way, in any way, shape, or form, okay? But I am going to be fair. So I thought, you know what? Let's just do a schedule comparison. Because for all of you out there saying, well, Notre Dame needs to join a conference. It's not fair to USC. They have an advantage. Now, let's compare this year's schedule. Because some of you are now trying to say, well, some of these teams that Notre Dame's playing, well, they're just mid. They're always overrated. Guess what? And as much as I hate hearing it, that's what people have been saying about USC now for a long time. They're always overrated. They're just a mid-level program for right now. Well, okay. Can't have it both ways, peoples. This year, Notre Dame plays Arkansas and Texas A&M, and the rest of the schedule that compares very favorably to USC's. Notre Dame will play 6 ACC teams, as well as Arkansas and Texas A&M. Those are their first 2 games. So, like I said, some fans like to call teams like Arkansas, Texas A&M mid when they're playing Notre Dame. But they think those are quality teams when USC beats them, right? Like I said, can't have it both ways. Can't have your cake and eat it too. That's not being objective. That's just being a Domer hater. And like I said, I hate the Fighting Irish just as much as everyone else. but I respect the rivalry more. And I'm willing to be fair when we're comparing schedules. So let's do this. Let me break this down. The Domers open the season in Miami. Okay, it's an ACC team. Then they host the Texas A&M Aggies. Guess who Notre Dame plays in Game 3? The same team that USC plays in their third game of the year, Purdue. So USC opens their season at home against Missouri State and Georgia Southern, and then they hit the road for Purdue. I would say that's advantage USC. And anybody who disagrees, you're just not being honest. Here are the next 3 games for Notre Dame. At Arkansas, they host Boise State, and they host North Carolina State, an ACC team. Okay. USC's next 3 games, they host Michigan State, they go to Illinois, they host Michigan. I think it's fair to say, regardless of how good the Razorbacks are anticipated to be this year, playing in Fayetteville is tougher than USC hosting a rebuilding Michigan State team. Let's just be honest about that, okay? I'm not saying Arkansas is going to win. I'm just saying it's going to be a tough environment. And Notre Dame's playing an SEC team. Look, I'm willing to concede that USC's other 2 games might be more tough. Not by a lot. I mean, we're going to find out who Illinois is early in the season. I still think there's a chance they lose at Duke in week 2, week 1, whatever. Yeah, week 0, week 1 is the second game of the year. So stupid. So here are the next 3 games on both schedules. So I gave you the first 6 games. Notre Dame will then play USC in Game 7. They are at Boston College, ACC. Then they host Navy. USC at Notre Dame. At Nebraska, they host Northwestern. For me, that's a wash. Navy is better than Northwestern by a lot. And Boston College is pretty much akin or similar to Nebraska. If you want to say that Nebraska is a tougher game than Boston College, fine. I'm not gonna die planting a flag on the hill. But we're talking Mox Knicks, right? 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. The difference minimal. And then let's go to the last 3 games of the year. Notre Dame will be at Pittsburgh. They host Syracuse. Then they hit the road to go to Stanford, their West Coast trip. Those are all 3 ACC games. That's 6 total ACC games, plus Texas A&M, plus Arkansas, 2 from the SEC. That's 8. And I gave you their other games. Seriously, folks? Explain it to me like I'm 4 years old. How in the hell is USC's schedule that much more challenging than Notre Dame's? It's not. It really isn't, if we're being honest with each other. The college football playoff committee is going to start rewarding teams that play tougher teams, not just at home, also on the road. And you're not going to get penalized if you lose that game on the road. You know, at home, they might look at you like, hey, you know what? You probably should have won that game. But on the road, you're going to get a little bit more. You're going to get a little bit more latitude. Look, folks, you're out of excuses. For all of you who've been fighting me, saying USC should not be playing Notre Dame until they join a conference, you're out of excuses. The SEC is going to a 9-conference game schedule. They also are being, told you've got to play at least one more quality out-of-conference opponent. And that team has to come from the ACC or the Big 12. So, again, folks, we got to stop. There's no more excuses left. Notre Dame is playing and I'm using finger quotes, a better out-of-conference schedule by far. And their conference slate of games are just as tough as USC's on the whole. I get it. USC plays 9 of them. Notre Dame only plays 6 ACC teams. But they make up for it with those games against Texas A&M and Arkansas. Meanwhile, USC's playing Georgia Southern, Missouri State. Yeah, it's not the same. The SEC, they caved in. They're going to play 9 conference games. USC plays 9 conference games. Notre Dame joining a conference has no bearing on this discussion, on this conversation. Having them join the big conference, that affects USC. Doesn't matter especially if you're going to the 4 automatic qualifier format, or if you're going to the 5+11. All of a sudden now USC's got another obstacle in front of them because they're in the big conference. But again, it shouldn't matter. And anybody who thinks it does matter or keeps coming up with all these different excuses, stop. You lost. The NCAA, they took that one little trump card you thought you had. USC's at a disadvantage because the SEC only plays 8 conference games. Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference. I just gave you some stuff some data points. Deal with it. Don't make me defend Notre Dame again. Hate doing that. But, everyone says, well, USC's conference schedule is tougher. It really isn't. You can't tell me that, Notre Dame gets to play Purdue and USC doesn't get to use that same excuse. Is Northwestern really a tough game for USC? Of course it isn't. What is Iowa? Who are they compared to one of the teams on Notre Dame's schedule? Pick an ACC team. Are they Boston College, Syracuse, Pitt, Stanford? And we can do this all day long. What I can't do all day long is stay on here and talk to you. As much as I want to, I'm limited by time, which means I'm out of time on this episode. But I will be back with another one. I'll be back with another 5 next week. It's game week, folks. Are you ready? I'm ready. All right. Until then, everyone, you know what to do.